So, with anything in life, generally most things make sense. It sounds kind of weird because most people are opinionated and don't want to think something makes sense. But for the most part, things find a way to make sense, right? You know, take not necessarily this last one, but you take presidential elections. Even if you don't like the person that's running or the person that gets voted in, it makes sense. There's a system in place, there's a process that happens, and then there's a winner elected, right? Decently practical. Obviously, you get in X factors and other things that people don't care for, but the process itself makes sense. You know, something that didn't make sense to me as of probably until 4 or 5 days ago was the whole Phil Jackson scenario. I get really confused on this because, like, I always believe when you make it to a certain level in life, a certain level in success, I just don't believe you can do it being a dummy. You know, like, take our current president. Like, the one thing I defended is it's like, I just don't think he's a dummy. He's done too much in his life for me to think he is a stupid individual. There's other things you can say about him, but I'm just not willing to believe that he's stupid or a dummy. Phil Jackson is an 11-time champion. You can make a case he's the greatest coach of all time, but he's definitely, you have to at least put him in one of the top three with him, Red Auerbach, and Pat Riley. Like, that's just undeniable. So how does he go to New York? And I'm not sure of all the finer nuances of being a general manager or an executive, all the little things you have to do. I just simply don't know those things. I'm not going to act like I know those things. But I know to some degree there's common sense in those things. This is why even as a fan, you can look at a player and be like, okay, I know he can play, or I know he's a scrub. There's, you can break it down and go, it's like, okay, well, he shoots free throws really well, or, oh, he does this better than that. But for the most part, you can break it down. It's like he can play or he can't play. That's basic talent scouting at its finest. Okay? Take Phil Jackson. He's seen a lot of guys that can play. He got to coach these guys, what were their names again? That's right. Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Kobe Bryant, Shaq. Yeah, he's coached a few guys that could play. So what would be behind the reason for Phil Jackson doing the things he did? Because some of the things he did just didn't make sense. And I had a hard time figuring that out. Well, what's been the two biggest stories the last 6 months in the NBA? The Warriors and Cavs meeting again, and is it bad for the NBA? And we have this upstart rookie who's going into LA, whose dad, most people think, talks way too much. What if you take Phil Jackson, who just got released or just got fired on, it was last Thursday? Apologize, I think it was Friday. What if that's his way of going back to LA to pair up with this new young upstart rookie who most people who have already basically declared as a superstar? Think about it for a second. Your little thought exercise. Phil Jackson, if you like him or not, he's worked with a bunch of star players. So if anything, he's got the attention of a star player. I remember hearing a story, Pau Gasol a few years back when he was with the Lakers, and Pau did something he wasn't supposed to in practice, and Phil started yelling. And Phil's not a yeller. He's the Zen man. Yeah, get your green plants and be free and happy. And Pau just sat there and let him yell at him. And his thing was, well, who am I to talk back? Like, I'm a good player. I'm an all-star player. But this guy's yelled at Michael Jordan. This guy's yelled at Kobe Bryant. This guy's yelled at Shaquille O'Neal, Scottie Pippen. Like, who am I to really yell, or who am I to really say that this guy is wrong? You think Luke Walton's going to have that same kind of impact on Lonzo Ball? If he really needs to sit there and teach him or tell him, it's like, hey, you're not doing this right, or you're just doing this wrong, who's more impactful? Phil Jackson, Luke Walton. Why does Phil Jackson, a guy who's supposed to be zenned out, supposed to be more or less like just a hippie, why does he still have a house in LA? I'm in California. There is a few wide spots in the road, but they are far fewer than if you want to be in the Midwest and even on the East Coast. You don't have a home in LA if you're trying to be away from everybody in your zen and, you know, peace with the earth type of deal. You just don't do it. The perception of him in LA to him in New York. Ask people in New York, Phil Jackson's, he's worthless, he's useless. They don't even think he could spell his own name right anymore. Ask him in LA, he's still revered. Phil Jackson to the Lakers not only makes sense, but it just needs to happen. Think about this. You take a guy who, what was the reason he left? Well, the Lakers want to let him do his coaching on the road thing, right? Like, he's like, okay, well, I'll come back, but I can only coach 40, 50 games, and I'm only going to coach some road games and then all home games. Lakers were like, no, we're not going to do that. Why'd they do that? Well, when they did it, they were speaking from a position of power. The Lakers were still coming off of 2 out of 4 titles. Still had Kobe before he twisted his leg and basically ended his career. Had Pau Gasol. Like, they had a position of like, hey, we can get someone else in here and they can coach this team up. And then they brought Mike D'Antoni in and they just figured out, well, that was just the wrong move. And now I'm throwing my pen. Phil Jackson going there now, a team that's on 4 straight years of being hot garbage. The only good thing they've done the past 4 years was Kobe's goodbye game. Oh, Phil's got all the power he wants. He's got all the leverage in this situation. And think about it. You bring Phil Jackson in, you give him Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, LeBron James if he's going there in 2018. You give that man superstars with his credential and his pedigree. Laker fans, I'm telling you, Phil Jackson to the Lakers 2018. Get it out there, get the word out there, spread the story.